Alrighty, hopefully that's everything fixed. Hopefully you can hear us. Zingy has just been involved in a collision at the top of the hill. That's Radion, and is out of the session. Top of the tons right now, but the session's going to get quicker and quicker as we continue. And they're out. They are out here in qualifying already. That is pretty frustrating for the Scotsman to have that happen so soon. It must have been in the back of Card Carrot there, because there's no damage to the front of that Ferrari. I'm not entirely sure what happened there with Zingy. I'm sure we'll get to find out at some point at a later date. Alrighty, sorry for the delay. We're finally back and hopefully good to go. Eagles set a P3. I'm going to intro the stream once again because we had the audio difficulties just a few moments ago. Welcome everyone to the LSI Summer Season 4 Belgian Grand Prix, round 3 out of 6. We've had a week break and we're finally back and ready to go. We've got a few brand new drivers on the grid with us. And we've got a few minutes done with the session now and a fair few drivers setting lap times. Terence had a technical difficulty. Unfortunately, their car was spawned when going into the pit lane, out of the pit lane, and then retired. So nothing that Terence could do. It's very unfortunate, and we're just going to have to continue the session. So extremely frustrating for the driver from Hong Kong, but hopefully they can keep everything together in the race and have a good race. We'll see how that one goes a little bit later on. EcoPro since that lap time. It's currently Devon Young who's highest up the order to compete for that pole position away from Zingy, who's done that 50.8. But if we can try and get a view of how many minutes we've got left, which I think is just over 4 minutes, we're going to have plenty of time for drivers to set some lap times and probably go quicker. That is Zora, and that is Card Carrot retiring, both in the pit lane. It looks like, no, that's Zora actually on the exit of the first corner. And unfortunately, their session is done, but it was Card Carrot in the pit lane after their issue. Jericho Willis currently on a lap here, but slowed down actually. Sorry, my bad for that one. It's Devon Young who will start a lap, so we'll go on board with the man himself. It's actually Heisler first we'll go on board with, who's going to set their next lap in the session. We've got a few soft tyre runners from Robbo and Dave Raptors. They're really going to try and make it work. Is that worth it? I don't know. That's Heisler across the line here. 1:50 to go. Their last lap of the session, and a 49.7 puts them massively in front. Will they be able to hold on to that time as Devon Young goes up the hill? But it's soft tyres for Robbo and Dave Raptors, who are going to have a really tough ask to get that one all the way around the circuit. Incredibly difficult. And are they both together, or is one of them not on the track somewhere? They're leaving the pit lane, it looks like. Unless it's the Sauber. No, they're behind the Aston Martin. I didn't even realise that right there. So we've got Devon Young, who's looking to try and take that away from Heisler if they could. They set a pretty decent lap time earlier on, went to the top for a moment. It was taken away by the Scotsman, now demoted by the Dutchman. Heisler very unlikely to get another lap in here, as they would have to go slow to save some battery, but they might give it a push because you can probably gain more lap time with the track evolution, even if you've got a little bit less battery. Devon keeping it tidy so far, but I think they're actually trying to save. They're trying to make sure that they go for the lap at the very final moment. So they're allowing everything to go through, and then they will go for the lap here instead. So we'll see what they can do. Heisler is probably not going to get another lap in, but they're saving the battery to try and give it a shot. I have maybe made a big misjudgment here. Egapro starts their final run of the session at Jericho Willis, who goes through Lacombe chicane, as they had some pretty good defences here in the past races that he's done. Absolute masterclass defences around this corner as well, I think it was. As they get that car danced through the corner, down the hill they go, hoping the bump doesn't affect them at turn 11 here. Turn 10, I should say, Pouron doesn't affect them. They've got to try and bleed off the throttle a little bit, otherwise they could be in trouble. It's a yellow in the first sector, as that's Samexon joining, and Eastland unfortunately having an issue in these final stages of the session. Heischler is done. They will not improve. We're going to see the Alpine, one of the Alpines, come across the line for the final time for them. But it is Jericho Willis going purple in the middle sector for now. They're looking to beat Egapro up ahead, who's a couple of tenths up in front for the moment. They're also going to be setting a lap. That is Vega Flex going across the line for P9 ahead of their teammate for the time being. Jericho Willis across the line and, well, out the final corner first, then across the line in the McLaren. What's it going to be? Can they get close to their teammate? As they do jump ahead of Egapro, it's not enough to get Zingy by the smallest of margins, but a very good effort will put them in contention, in a very good position for this race for now. Harvey Specter is going to come into the final chicane, a little bit of a difficult one. That's Devon Young retiring on the circuit, so they've given up on their lap. It's the Alpine across the line to P9 to beat their teammate. And then we have Egapro, currently P5, looking to take that back from Jericho Willis and more. Can they get to P3? Could they even try and challenge for P2 here as the track evolution really kicks in across the line? No, DRS is enabled across the line. It's P3, a 0.584, a brilliant lap there. And now we've got the soft tyre runners. Soft tyre runners coming through of Robbo and Dave Raptors to P3, and it's to P5. A brilliant, brilliant call to go on the softs. Absolutely amazing. I did not expect that one to work at all, but it has. It's Eastland who will finish the session. They will not improve. That is qualifying done. It's Heischler on top. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff indeed. Heischler takes the pole position time. Devon Young for P2. It's Dave Raptors on the soft tyre there in P3. That's the rest of the grid. We'll hopefully see Samexon join us at the back of the pack. And we will see you in a few moments for the race with a wet start. See you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Heichler in pole position and the inside line. Devon Young, though, on the traction's going to get there, surely. The outside line is going to be difficult. Are they going to try and look for the run? I don't know if they had to turn in to get there. Dave Raptors, P3 holding on is Robbo. Up to P4 on return to LSI. Ahead of Eager Pro, but behind Zingy. Behind is Zingy, who's going to want to try and go for a move. A lot of cars off here. Arrow Rouge, we can't quite see what's going on. We can see Heichler leading the way. Will Devon Young contest? I don't think so. They'll stay behind for now, but it's side by side as Eager Pro and Robbo are trying to battle it out. Oh, it's going to be Zingy who tries to thread the needle, but there's contact with Igor. In the meantime, it's Heichler as well, getting a time penalty for corner cutting. They've gone off the circuit at Le Com there and got themselves an immediate time penalty. They're going to be in trouble for this one. What a shame to see that happen right there for them. Zingy P5 having that incident. They didn't lose out too much. They've got to just try and catch up to the Englishman in front. We have Zora P6 for now. They've got Jericho Willis just behind them. Terence in P8 after their issues in qualifying. Now to P8 already. That's brilliant. And back of the pack, P14 to P9. Samaxon and Terence have worked together perfectly to get into their positions, making so much progress. Igor having that issue. Vogaflex, Eastan, Card Carrot and Harvey Specter at the back having some sort of issue, but they're still in this race. Even if they have a little bit of damage, we're going to have a few pit stops so they can still keep going here. Heichler now 9/10 ahead with a time penalty. They've got to try and make sure that they make the most of this clean air, this lead, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. It's Robbo and Zingy, the champion, having a go on the inside line. It's going to be close. It's very, very close, but it's well defended for now. The intermediate tyre for the Scotsman, and many cars behind, is the choice that they've gone for. Eager Pro on the intermediate tyre over Terence. They're looking to make that move as well, and they do so on their teammate for now. They're very close to the back of Samaxon, who is also on that intermediate tyre. Racing for Haas, by the way. Racing right now as a Ferrari driver, but scoring points for Haas. Heichler 1.1 seconds ahead of Devon Young. Dave Raptors is right behind their old rival. It's Zingy who tries to go for the move. There is contact. They eventually get there, and now they're on the inside line. Do they have the advantage? I think they will, and they will be ahead. It's going to be Robbo who tries to fight back. Oh no, it's actually Zingy who was behind. I do apologise. Completely mixed that one up there. Zingy wanted to have another go to get back through, but it didn't work out. Getting a good exit into Puon. Would it be their choice? I think it is. It's going to be an attempt, but they do back off. Robbo goes wide, trying to get back on the throttle. Is Zingy into the Fania chicane? Will that be the next choice? It will be the inside line, not on the brakes. They don't have the grip on the intermediate tyre yet, but Zingy, being the lead inter tyre runner, is only going to get quicker and really needs to try and make sure that they keep that front wing clean. If they don't, they're in big trouble. If they do, they have a very good chance at winning this Grand Prix. They're still going to have to make a pit stop. Oh, that's a big off there for Robbo. That's going to be a terrible run all the way down the straight. And Zingy's going to try and have a go. They're pushing on the battery. They go for the outside line here. Oh, and they've completely turned in. They've completely turned in. And Robbo's going to be frustrated with that one as they go off the circuit and lose out. Side by side through Puon isn't going to be easy, let alone in the rain. So it's a shame that that went that way. It's the way it went. And we'll focus on Dave Raptors, who has done that brilliant performance in qualifying to get themselves to P3, and now they're staying there, putting the pressure on Devon Young, not able to do too much about it. These three all kind of split up nicely and relaxing effectively 4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field right now. Will they be able to hold on to that 4-second lead, though? I don't quite know, because it's going to be difficult with the intermediate tyres that will be getting quicker and quicker and quicker in this race. In the meantime, Harvey Specter stayed in this race, just sitting at the back of the field at the moment, trying to hold on. We've got a hell of a battle here with Sir Maxon, Jericho Willis and Robbo in the trio. It's the two Inters versus the wet tyre. It's the champions versing each other. It's going to be Sir Maxon, the F1 champion, versus the reigning F1.5 champion to take that position. They get the job done, and now they've got the former F1 champion who goes through it as well. Sir Maxon getting a brilliant run on the inside of Pouon and does try and get the job done. It's not going to be over just yet. They now have the outside line, so usually not the advantage line, but they do have the grip. Being on the Inter, that should be pretty straightforward, but still no. Robbo holds on with all their might, and they're gonna make it work. The inside line is once again theirs. They're gonna have to leave the space. Oh, it's a little bit cheeky. It's very, very, very cheeky. And Jericho Willis is going to try and spot a move. Maybe they didn't get a good enough exit as the cars ahead did just slow up very suddenly. So that was very, very difficult to read. But they know that it's pretty tricky up in front for that wet tyre, and they know that they can gain. Zingy's gained around about, well, half a second in the last lap or so. 22 laps in Belgium, not as many as other circuits because of the long distance, but still plenty of places to gain time around the lap and then make that intermediate tyre work. How many pit stops will we do? When will we do the pit stops? Will we go to the dry tyre at the end of the Grand Prix? We just don't know at this stage. We've got a hell of a train from P6 to P10 at the moment. We've got the two race leaders currently fairly close to one another as well, but it's Sir Maxon up the hill having a massive tow, and this time it might be a little bit more straightforward. Coming into the wall of air, it's very, very tricky. It's very tricky into the side-by-side zone as well, but Sir Maxon trying to be a little bit further ahead. This time, it's not going to work out. It's going to have to be a traction race once again. That grip is there for Sir Maxon, but a bit of frustration. They're not able to get there into the hairpin. They know that they've got that car underneath them. They are the championship leader and the reigning champion. They've just got to keep it calm, and they can get through at some point soon. Zora drops away from Zingy as Zingy makes more progress. It's Sir Maxon once again to the inside line, trying to make it work here at Pouon, and this time it is going to be job done. No coming back from that one on that wet tyre. You can't send the brakes here. And now in clean air, Sir Maxon is only going to break away even further. Now Jericho Willis is going to be up next to try and make a move. But before we see that happen, we'll go through the order. We've got Heischler in P1, 1.3 seconds ahead. Then Dave Raptors. Then we've got Zingy, Zora, Sir Maxon, Jericho Willis, Robbo, Igro, Terrence, Easton, Vega Flex, Carrot, and Harvey Specter. That's Heischler into the pit lane already. Into the pit lane already on that wet tyre. And wanting to maybe go to the end on an intermediate tyre very early on. It's Jericho Willis who's looking at the pit lane but not going into it as their teammate makes that call. It's also Robbo who goes into the pit lane as well, so maybe that's suggested by the game for that one. And we've got a couple of drivers who've just been promoted now because of that. Jericho Willis hasn't been able to, well, I say hold on to Sir Maxon. They had Robbo in between, so Jericho Willis probably happy now that they don't have to try and get past a wet tyre runner, but they aren't that close to Sir Maxon anymore. DRS isn't available in this scenario with the wet conditions, so it doesn't really matter on that end. It's just that you don't get the slipstream effect. That's the only thing that you miss out on here. Zingy making more progress here on Dave Raptors, 1.5 seconds away now. Massive gains here for the Scotsman, and that is very good news for them. It's Heischler, currently P9, and they're trying to get these tyres warmed up. They are in the pack, interestingly, so an inside cut pit lane, you can gain a bit of time and not be so slow, so they are going to be gaining very, very quickly, and that's the nature and the risk that you run of if you do pit early. If you pit early, you might get yourself in a bit of traffic. We have Vegaflex and Carrot who were battling just a few moments ago, I believe. Vegaflex holding on to the pack for a little bit as well, which was good to see. They've dropped a little bit now, but that wet tyre is going to be why. They need to get themselves onto that intermediate tyre at some point when they are ready to do so. East End on that intermediate tyre. They've got Heischler just up in front of them, 1.3 seconds away from Terence, and they're looking to try and make that progress. Terence dropping away from his teammate. Oh, and that is going to be a move. That is Zingy ahead of Dave Raptors, the race winner from the Saturday tier. It's Devon Young into the pit lane a lap later from what we saw with Heischler. It's going to be the fastest lap for the Scotsman, and I don't really see Dave Raptors getting back. Look at this traction difference that we should see from Zingy. It's not as big as I thought it was, but it's definitely put Dave Raptors out of a position to make a move into the Lecombe chicane, and look at that. That's absolutely treacherous for Dave Raptors to deal with as they go all the way down the straight, and Zingy's only going to gain more time from that as well. Zora currently P3 on the right strategy, but they've got a champion behind them who is going to be very, very fast and not easy to keep behind. That's going to be Zora getting a 3-second time penalty as we watch just behind them as well. It is crunch time for them. It's Jericho Willis P5 at the moment. They've got Eager Pro for company as Terence has made that pit stop now. It's then Heischler 3 seconds behind, so Heischler might have actually just got away with getting in any dirty air and traffic there. Devon Young as well, I think, has avoided it as they come out ahead of East End on that 5 lap hold intermediate tyre. Robbo a bit further behind in P12. They've got some traffic to deal with. Unfortunately, they've got to try and get through the current wet tyre runners. So that's a frustrating one there for Robbo. Not going to be easy, but they're going for it on the inside of Poole, and they know that they've got the grip, and they'll have the confidence on turning as well. And that is going to be a pretty straightforward move, and they'll look to try and do the same thing very shortly as well on Vega Flex just in front. That wet tyre is just going to not be competitive at all. And you can see 2.6 seconds, Dave Raptors loses even more to Zingy in a very short space of time. Dave Raptors surely going into the pit lane this lap. Surely. They stay out again. They're looking to go a little bit longer. They seem to want to try a little bit more and see if they can have a different strategy call. Looking to the inside line maybe. No, it's not going to be the inside line. They're going to go into the bus stop chicane, going off the track and getting a time penalty as they're stuck in the dirty air. The outside line is their choice, and they're going to really send it through all on the brakes. It's not going to be secured so easily, but on the traction, they'll get there, and that'll be the move done. Brilliant stuff right there from both drivers to get through that one cleanly. It looked pretty difficult. So Maxon makes that move ahead of Zora in the end, and is now P3, trying to catch up to Dave Raptors on that wet tyre. I'm not entirely sure on what the exact forecast is here for the weather. It's going to be possibly dry towards the end of the Grand Prix. It's going to be very, very difficult. Would we go to that slick tyre towards the end? I don't quite know. The wet tyre is still the option, just not the full wet tyre basically. But you can see how much Sir Maxon has gained, and Zora, to Dave Raptors, as this wet tyre not only is not the right one for the conditions anymore, but it's also completely worn out. Oh, it's going to be Dave Raptors who goes off the circuit for a moment and is going to be down on pace. They lose the position to Sir Maxon very easily, and they're now going to be under threat from Zora here, who's P4 right now. P1 for Zingy. After retiring and qualifying, they set a good enough lap to still be in contention for the victory. They now take that top spot. They haven't made a pit stop just yet. In theory, if you can save your tyres, you don't need to make a pit stop in the wet conditions. That is possible. It's very difficult to do, and I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not impossible. Easton getting a time penalty, unfortunately, 3 seconds. Now, for a few drivers with the time penalties, it does look tricky. It is always tricky around Spa. Zora trying to get the traction, trying to get the better line through Eau Rouge. Not quite working out so far. In the meantime, we'll look at the time penalties. 3 seconds for every driver that has one except from Harvey Specter. who has a 6-second time penalty. That's Terence just ahead of... Oh, no, that's a big incident, and that's damage between the two as well. What on earth just happened there? We're trying to go through the order, go through the data, and it just completely went the wrong way as they all went side by side into the first corner. It looked like, was that a 3-wide moment? I don't know. But they go up the hill, across the track limits. Terence gets the run, is going to go to the outside line. And makes the move. And now they try and get back to Carcara, but with damage. They're going to have to try and repair that if we do get slicked. And they're going to hope that we do have slick tyres, because if everybody then pits, then they can have somewhat of a race towards the end, still looking for points if they can. P4, P3 and 4 switching up here for Dave Raptors and Zora, as Dave Raptors backs out at the last second as Zora makes that move. That wet tyre is really tricky right now, and realistically they've only lost one position compared to what they started with, but of course we've got Heischler and Devon Young who have made their pit stops already. That being said, Devon Young and Heischler, who made their pit stops, are now behind Igapro and Jericho Willis, and getting past one car in the rain is hard enough. Getting past 2 cars in the rain is going to be virtually impossible. That's Sir Maxon getting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 5-second gap they have to Zingy right now. Dave Raptors finally into the pit lane as we expect. Fastest lap there, a 0.5 for Sir Maxon, a 0.6 for Zingy, 58.3 for Zora, and a 57.2 for Jericho Willis. Dave Raptors now onto that fresh intermediate tyre. They are going to be quick. Was it the right call? Well, it was the right call to not pit as early as their teammate did a few laps ago. They've definitely cleared some dirty air. Now they've got 11 seconds ahead of them, but you can see how much time they lost. They were about 2 seconds behind Devon Young before they made that pit stop, did Devon Young, and now 11 seconds. That's a huge difference, and only 3 laps of tyre wear. It's a long lap again, I'll say, around Belgium. It can make the difference, but it is still a big one. That's how we expected getting a time penalty as they speed into the pit lane on accident. Very difficult, and we actually get a double stack from the Alpine team, so there's going to be a bit of a delay here for Harvey. They eventually get that pit stop done, and they do get that front wing change finally. Good to see. Onto the hard tyre. That's not their intention, I'm sure. And they're going to have to go back into the pit lane to get that one placed, unless they see a vision that we are not aware of right now. Zingy leads the way on lap 9 out of 22, about to get to the double digits here in Spa, trying to take a victory around a circuit that sees so many different track conditions. Will we see a difference in track conditions later on in this race? It's possible. A 5.59 for Zingy, as Sir Maxon now loses a 10th to the Scotsman, and they're breaking away. It's Heischler who does get the move done on Igapro there. To P5 they go, and they're now going to try and look at their teammate who's just up in front of them. The tyre differences there, not super significant, but as I said, it's a long circuit, so it can make the difference. That's P5 for now. What will Jericho Willis do with their teammate? Will they stay ahead? They do on the straight. Are they going to give them a tough fight? That's the question. Not much battery here for Heischler to use, and Jericho Willis doesn't want to lose that position, of course, to Igapro. So they've got to make sure that they play it right. Otherwise they would lose out big time. Coming into Pouan, both drivers travel through nicely, and they do get a big snap of oversteer, does Jericho Willis, but they also both gain a lot on... that's a retirement on track there. I thought it was going to be a big crash, but it wasn't. As I was saying, Devon Young almost had a look at me making a move. He didn't quite get there in the end. Hopefully no one's affected by the AI car that's moving out the way. Don't think Zingy is affected by that one. think they'll be absolutely fine. That is going to be a switch between the two teammates on the straight here, as Devon Young is going to want to try and get past EagaPro at the earliest possible point, because the driver on their similar strategy is going through. They go for the move on the brakes, but EagaPro, too late on them, is going to stay ahead for now. Will the Brit get through on the traction? Well, they're going to try for the traction race. It's not going to come anything of it, though, as ERS is to a minimum. And that will be that attempt done. Heischler will escape, as you can see him up in the distance now, breaking away. They can also see Zora not too far away, and they're looking to try and get something done on that one. A 53.9 for Dave Raptors, who's making massive progress on this fresh tyre. Will we see pit stops from the other drivers up in front? I would expect to see a pit stop, but I don't know how possible that's going to be. We've got EagaPro tucking into the slipstream of the cars ahead, as Devon Young, without any battery, can't do anything about getting past the Serbian driver, just hoping that the Aston makes a mistake. But if they don't make a mistake, they have no choice but to stay behind. That's the art of racing. It's frustrating, but it's just the way it goes for now. Zingy, 4.7 seconds. They do lose a little bit of time, but they now equalise it back to 4.4, or 4.9 I should say. So bringing it back is Zingy. Trading gaps is Samaxon. Still a huge advantage the Scotsman has. 22 laps to their name. I just want to double check that wasn't a driver that left the session. They were driving that. I think that was just Harvey. In the end, I think we should be good. Terence having that damage earlier on, very unfortunate. Still got the damage on the car right now, but almost in the points without any time penalties. As long as they don't give up, they could do something here. No one, well, they've had a pit stop. A few cars ahead haven't, so they can still do something in this race. 4.5 seconds. Samaxon is slowly chipping away at the Racing Bull car in P1 at the moment. It's going to be Heischler trying to make a move here on Zora. Zora just ahead, defending into the first corner, it looks like. They go back to the racing line, and it's going to have to be down the straight. They'll give it a shot. It's going to be Devon Young also very close to the back of the Aston Martin. So we're going to see possibly two overtake attempts here. Fresh tyres versus old tyres. Massive gains here for Heischler as they go into the corner, but on the straight, where's it going to be? It's going to be Pro Heischler, but it's very close to the grass, and there will be the move for the McLaren driver, and nothing will be done by Zora to gain that one. And EagaPro also stays comfortably ahead of Devon Young, as we saw. Eastern goes into the pit lane, and it is going to be a points position for Terence for now. Fresh tyres for the Haas driver. Will we see Vegaflex have a go at battling at some point in this race with the Haas driver to try and get an extra position? I'm not entirely sure. Zora still fairly close behind the Dutchman at the moment, but they're only going to lose out because of the tyre difference. Jericho Willis on equal tyres. It's going to be a mistake there for EagaPro. Didn't realise that once. Sorry, completely watching a different part of the screen. And that is going to be Devon Young ahead on that fresh tyre, and now it's going to be Jericho Willis who is up next. ERS has been saved over that last lap or so. So they sacrificed a lap or so to try and get through and not spend the entire race behind the Aston Martin, and now they're going to try and use the battery that they've got to try and push instead of wait for a mistake on Jericho Willis. But now with Zorro also in the mix on these old tyres, it's going to be very complicated. It's going to be Jericho Willis into the pit lane, and actually only one car will be required to be overtaken. EagaPro also pits, so Devon Young, after working all of that ERS back into the car, is going to end up just making the move, or they would have made the move on EagaPro anyway, which is going to be frustrating. But what can you do? Oh no! What you shouldn't do is go onto the wet tyre, and EagaPro has unfortunately got onto the wet tyre as the game has suggested it for them, I assume, unless it is just a complete bug and there's going to be no grip for the Aston Martin here. They're going to have to go into the pit lane, surely, unless they really try and hold it out on that wet tyre. That is frustrating. That is what we saw in Monza F1.5 last season. An exact replica And it just is unbelievably frustrating. In all of that, Dave Raptors, although going over the grass a little bit there, has managed to gain a massive amount of time. About 5 seconds over the last couple of laps since their pit stops, of course. And they've got Devon Young just up ahead, who's now fighting with the Sauber car of Zora 101, who's currently P4 with a time penalty. Heischler's broken away, 3.5 seconds. These guys were close earlier on, not so much anymore. So Devon Young's going to be frustrated with that one, but it's the cards they've been dealt. Currently, the top two still holding on nicely. 8 seconds ahead of Heischler, who's already pitted and is probably looking to go to the end of the Grand Prix. Not entirely sure why they made their pit stop so early on. The track is looking very dry from our perspective, but it's still wet, that's for sure. That's going to be Devon Young. The outside line is there. It's going to be contact into the braking zone. It's going to be Zora who goes off the circuit and into the pit lane. Controversial fashion, but the move is made by Devon Young. I don't think that really needs to be looked at in the end, as they made the move. Unfortunate stuff. But it's done. It's also Dave Raptors who will gain massively from that. And it's Dave Raptors with the fastest lap, who actually sees Samaxon pit just up in front of them. They're going to have cold tyres. Dave Raptors 5-lap old tyres. They're going to be able to give them a little bit of a fight here, unless they try and work together with them. I'm not entirely sure. Will they push on the battery? They don't push on the battery, and they stay behind. They don't want to go for the move. They raced them in Austria. They raced them hard in Austria. And they did come out ahead in the end. They have experience with the pole before. So they decide to not go for the move on the battery, which on cold tyre runners I was surprised, but Samaxon's got that under control, it seems, very, very quickly, and is working quite nicely. That's also Zora putting on that hard tyre, so a big mistake. That's the third pit stop error. It's Igapro, who's currently about 4 seconds away from 4 or 5 seconds away now from Jericho Willis. That's how much time they've lost, but it looks like they're going to try and hold it out, stay on this wet tyre as Robbo catches up as well. The slick hard tyre is not going to work out as Zora goes off the circuit, and it's going to be then back onto the circuit. It's going to be Robbo who looks to try and make the move very shortly. Frustrating here for Zora. Hopefully they can stay back on the racing line and not be in too much trouble. It's going to be Terrence who will make that move pretty certainly. It's Zingy into the pit lane, and Heischler once again into the race lead. Where will they come out relative to Samaxon though? Will the Scotsman, they drop behind, or is Devon Young? Are they dropping behind Devon Young? They don't drop behind Devon Young. They stay ahead of the Brit, and that is going to be very interesting. We've got a race on our hands here. A 153 for Jericho Willis, who's going quick on these fresh tyres, and although a little further behind, is still there just in case a big issue happens. It's going to be Zora into the pit lane, and it's going to be Terrence ahead. Frustrating stuff there for Zora, but they do eventually go into the pit lane. It's going to be Heischler now. 3.3 seconds ahead. They've got a 3-second time penalty, 6-second time penalty there to their name. I didn't realise they got an extra 3 second. That's Zora retiring in the pit lane, so no safety car will come out of that one. So Zingy currently is P1 and Devon Young is P2. Samaxon 2 seconds away to try and catch up here to the Brit who's on older tyres. Zingy, of course, trying to catch up on even fresher tyres than Samaxon to some driver with even older tyres. That is, of course, Heischler. So it's a difficult situation for a few. Dave Raptors on the middle ground with kind of middle-aged tyres and sat at the back at the moment, 2.5 seconds. If the cars ahead fight, they are in a good position to make something out of it. But I'm sure they were hoping that if they could rewind back time, they would go onto the intermediate tyre a little bit earlier, because they would have been in a position of Heischler and Devon Young. There's going to be some Samaxon close now to the Red Bull car. F1.5 champions alike, F1 winners also into the first corner. Devon Young goes defensive and will stay ahead for now, not allowing Samaxon to go through. That's the fastest lap for the Ferrari driver. Still tried to push on the exit. It was very, very close. I don't know if there was contact. And they're going to stay behind for now. Will Samaxon. That's pit stops there for Heichler, who goes once again into the pit lane, and Egapro understandably into the pit lane as well. That's going to be a move attempt here for the Ferrari. Devon Young's going to give it everything they have on the inside line. Is it going to work out? No, they're going to have to back out of that one. A brilliant outbraking manoeuvre from Samaxon, who's now 4.3 seconds, although they came out behind a couple of cars, or a car, between themselves and Zingy. They've actually gained time out of all of that, so still a benefit to going for the undercut here. Heichler making that pit stop now on completely fresh tyres, but very similar to Zingy's tyres, and with a 6-second time penalty. So the strategy hasn't quite worked out as they'd have hoped, and they go off the circuit with the cold tyres. Very difficult to get warmed up so quickly. And now P6, Jericho Willis, is going to be close to his teammate and looking to score some good points here. Flex currently not too far away. Oh, I was going to say not too far away from Card Carrot, just up in front, but going for a bit of a loss of traction on the rear end, and with a bit of damage to that front wing, it's going to be difficult to get ahead of the Ferrari driver. He's down to P10 at the moment. Egapro making that pit stop from the wet tyre onto the Inter with their teammate up in front ahead of them. These guys are still at least scoring points. Then it's Robbo, who's in P7 for now. It's Devon Young who's back into the pit lane, so it wasn't the call to go for the early pit stops. I thought maybe there was something to look into this and it was going to be the better call, but no. Oh, it's going to be slicks. I don't think that's an accident. This late on into the Grand Prix, I don't think that's an accident. I don't think it's the right choice either. As we watch Devon Young exit the pit lane, those tyres are going to be so slippery. And trying to get the traction down the straight, they'll be able to do it. But as we watch Dave Raptors and Devon Young go up through Eau Rouge, surely that's not going to work. It's going to be Dave Raptors through nice and easily, as they just had a little bit of a lesser snap than Devon Young did. But Devon's going to go for the move again. The outside line is theirs. They're going to outbrake them massively into the corner and send it on the brakes. Crazy stuff there for Devon Young. They do get ahead. They're on the softer tyre. They're on the cooler tyre. It should be better, but they've just got no grip on that front end. And that is why you don't pit, and that's going to be Dave Raptors trying to come back through. Oh, around the outside, they're going to try and hold it, but you're never going to keep your nose in there at that point, with the advantage that they didn't have. The inside line, though, is still going to be their choice, and now it's going to be Devon Young who has to sit behind and let Dave Raptors stay in front. Brilliant move there for Dave Raptors. Medium tower, soft tower runners, they're looking to try and gain some time, but they're currently fighting, so that's not going to exactly help them at the moment. The softer tyre will wear out a lot quicker than the medium tyre. At the same time, the soft tyre should be better in cooler conditions. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here that we've got to work with. That's Samaxon getting the fastest lap, a 3.8 second gap now to Zingy. They are closing in on the Scotsman with time to go in this race. That's Terence having an issue, unfortunately. Currently down the order, and with damage to their right end plate, they rejoin the circuit. Oh, they've got a puncture. They've got a puncture on 11 lap old tyres. Absolutely extraordinary stuff here. Oh no, and they're in the gravel. I do not believe it. 11 lap old tyres, and Terence has a puncture. We're not going to see a safety car. They're just going to have to try and make it back to the pit lane. But that is why we saw the pit stops from a few drivers, including Heichler, who made that pit stop earlier on. They're now 11 seconds away from the top two ahead. It's frustrating, but it's what it is. It's still not dry, but we see the slick tyres being used. Will we see Robbo go onto a slick tyre as well? The inside line is being used by Devon Young, who goes late on the brakes. The switchback manoeuvre is being eyed up by the Mercedes. Will they get there on the exit? No, they will not. Oh, and Terence gets disqualified for driving the wrong way. Oh, what a shame. As they're trying to keep their car in the right direction, but due to the bugs, they're going to lose out. Hopefully the AI car doesn't get in the way too much, although it did a little bit. We see Vegaflex and Card Carrot now looking for a battle at this point of the Grand Prix. Actually, no, that's a ghost car, a lapped car for Card Carrot. I don't know what's happened now. They've ended up lapped somehow. But they're not lapped on the timing, so I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully we can get rid of that yellow sector and look at the lap counter and see if there's any clue as to what has happened. That's Jericho Willis getting a 3 second, and now Heischler is sat in a P3 spot. Dave Raptors and Devon Young need to try and gain some time, or not lose their current time, as Heischler goes fastest. That intermediate's tyre is still very quick, but it does show that the track is getting drier and drier, and it might be time for the slick tyres very shortly. They have to work together, and they have to also realise that that soft tyre is going to be brutal to get to the end of the Grand Prix if it's going to get there at all. Dave Raptors currently sits in a strong position, but with Zingy and Samaxon being so far ahead of these runners right now, they'll be able to see what Dave Raptors and Devon Young are doing pace-wise, and they'll be able to know whether they need to pit to cover off that slick tyre runner or not. The raindrops have gone away. We now see a dry circuit visually, but it's still very loose on the traction, as you can see. A greasy circuit doesn't mean a dry circuit. It still means the wet tyres will be advantageous, as you saw, of course, by Heischler, who went fastest. Pit stops for Eastland, who goes onto that medium tyre as well. The expected tyre if you want to go onto the slicks. Penalty-wise, 6 seconds for Heischler, 3 seconds for Jericho Willis, Robbo and Eastland, 6 seconds for Card and Vega Flex at this point in the race. Currently 2.8 seconds. Samaxon gaining massively here, as the Scotsman is trying to keep it on the track in the dry conditions, but it's not working out so well. DRS is enabled, and this makes everything completely different. Heischler, 3 seconds, P3 at the moment, going for the fastest lap. Jericho Willis dropping back a little bit on that slightly older intermediate tyre, but these tyres here, these are the ones to look at. You can see that already the soft tyre has dropped off, and Dave Raptors is breaking away, but Dave Raptors has got everything to gain here and not that much to lose. Still, although DRS has been enabled, that slick tyre is very, very slippery. And once again, as I'll show you right now, I'll show you the gap. There's a 30-second gap that Zingy and Samaxon have to the car behind on the first slick tyre. So they really don't need to worry about them at all. They've only got a few laps in this race remaining. As long as they stay on track, as long as they keep it cool, they'll be good to go. I think that's exactly what's happening here. That's why Samaxon's gaining so much time. Zingy's trying to keep it cool, now having to work a little bit harder to keep the car on the track, whereas Samaxon seems to be able to manage it quite well. Oh, and that is a big loss of the rear from Dave Raptors. Doing a brilliant job here to show us what this slick tyre can really do now as the conditions continue to improve. A big snap of oversteer right there. .9 seconds, gaining massively. 10-second time penalty there for Card Carrot as they exceeds the pit line as they retire on exit off the pit lane. Hopefully no safety car is deployed, and hopefully we're good to go. But 8.9 seconds and no pit stops up in front of them. Vegaflex now into the points positions on debut. Brilliant stuff for them to stay in the race. A very tricky condition race. Dave Raptors, fastest lap, 8.4 seconds as they continue to gain on the cars ahead. Once again, though, it's not going to be easy. 21 out of 22. We're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. It's Zingy versus Samaxon. The Scotsman has led for the majority of this Grand Prix. They've played the strategy to perfection. Samaxon, hats off to them, of course, but missing out in qualifying means that you miss out in the race as well. They had to work very hard. So far, it's not enough, but they've got one more lap, just over, to give it one final shot and have a go at making this a victory. Samaxon, 2.9 seconds. The gap is going up and down as we continue. Zingy's going to push. Zingy is going to push for everything now to make sure that they don't lose this now. Heischler, P3, Jericho Willis, P4. It's Dave Raptors who is now looking to try and be within the time penalty range of the American up in front to get a P4, and they could maybe, if they do that, have a go at getting ahead of Heischler. It just really depends on how quick these slick tyres are going to be, which is a difficult call to make, a very difficult call to make. But 5.5 seconds, are they going to go for another fastest lap as the track continues to get even faster and faster? 1.7 seconds improvement on the fastest lap time here, but locking up massively as well. It's still so greasy, and by pitting early with the massive greasy conditions, you lose so much temperature in the tyre and you have to regain that back, and it takes absolutely ages to get it back. It's virtually impossible. 4.7 seconds. They're now finding that temperature, and they are going to try and get within the 3-second time penalty range of the driver ahead of Jericho Willis to get that P4, which would be another brilliant position for Dave Raptors. But Zingy coming into the Fania chicane, and they've got one more chicane to pass through, and they will be able to take it as their own. 2.6 seconds. The gap's been brought down a little bit as Samaxon's pushed with everything they could, but it's not going to work out in the end. Zingy won the sprint race in Monza, hasn't won a Grand Prix event so far this season. It changes now as they come into the final chicane, and on exit, as long as they keep it in a straight line, they'll be good to go. Zingy wins the Belgian Grand Prix for the Friday tier. Samaxon, a brilliant P2, 3 seconds back in the end, and it's Heischler in P3, getting a few penalties, but they still managed to make it a podium from pole position. They had a difficult strategy. They deserve to be at least on a step of the podium. Jericho Willis to P4, but it's going to be Dave Raptors who takes it in the end with an incredible slick strategy, not only in qualifying but in the race as well. Devon Young crawls these tyres all the way to the end as they're absolutely treacherous, you can see. Eager Pro, P7, a difficult strategy as well, with a bit of a game error. I'm not entirely sure what happened. Still some points to their name is good. And Robbo, in a very difficult strategy as well, just getting caught up in the traffic. P8 for them it will be, but welcome back Robbo. Points will be good. It's going to be Estand in P9, and then we will see Vega Flex with a fastest lap for Robbo as well. No point unfortunately in the 25 game, but they will get the pride of having that fastest lap on the fresh soft tyres. Estand in P9 and Vega Flex will finish their lap in P10 in the end. What a race! What a race! Zingy on top once again. And exactly as they said in the chat, although they had their issues in qualifying, they'll be able to bring it back in the race. Tom Robb said that would be boring. He did it anyway. It is Zini taking the win. Robbo the fastest lap. Driver of the day for Samaxon, and most overtakes, of course, also to Samaxon. Zini takes victory in Belgium. It's Samaxon in P2, Heisler in P3, and it's Dave Raptor, Jericho Willis, Devon Young, Iga Pro, Robbo the fastest lap, Eastland in P9, and then we've got Vegaflex in P10. DNFing, but I believe being classed as finished is Card Carrot, and then DNFing properly was Zora, Harvey Specter, and Terence being disqualified from the race after a very frustrating puncture that they had. Not really their fault in the end. Very frustrating. That is the race director. We'll go through it. It is Belgium after all. It's a very tricky circuit to keep it within track limits. And there's going to be a few warnings for a few. The pit stop section on your screen now as well, with the strategy that we had. Absolutely necessary to get that on the screen. We'll be back in a little bit for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a few moments. Just getting the results on the screen. What a race we just had. What a race. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Belgian Grand Prix. That was a pretty crazy one for strategy. Devon, a brilliant position at the beginning of the race, but unfortunately the strategy just didn't quite work out. What do you think went wrong today?
Yeah, like you said, it was definitely the strategy. Really, I think probably could have done better in terms of, well, if I was on the right tyres. Obviously, I think my pace probably wasn't the worst. Like you say, good position to start with. I think I now know that the wets are bad, but I think if obviously if they weren't, I think it was the right call. Like, to start with, obviously clearly the wets were quicker, but I guess I don't know if they die quicker or if it's like a combination of how the track's drying and inters are just like much better. I don't really know, but I know now, like, choose inters even if it's really wet, because it was like very wet to start with. So really, like, that was okay. I was kind of debating when everyone on the inter started to catch up, but obviously I ended up going into the pits. I think probably what I should have done, which is what I was contemplating, was just sort of stick it out on the wets and be slower. Be slower, maybe get overtaken by a couple of the inters, but then I can still box with them when they box. But obviously, in hindsight, it's easy to say that. I ended up boxing early for the inters. Really, I thought that I could sort of take them to the end, but it's easier said than done, just because sort of when you're sliding a lot, it obviously destroys the rear tyres. So I was in puncture territory, and then I made I guess my third tyre mistake, which was going onto the softs. You can use the softs, from what I know, but maybe it was. I actually don't think it was too early. I think because it was still wet when I boxed, I was sliding too much, and I just destroyed them before I even had a chance for it to be dry. So when it did become dry, I had no pace on them because I destroyed them because I was sliding so much. So I think Dave Raptors clearly showed that mediums were better, and I think I would have had a good chance to sort of be in the podium positions if I did choose mediums. But yeah, like I say, every tyre I went on was at the time probably the wrong tyre. So pace, I think, was okay. Showed that in qualifying. But yeah, strategy is definitely something I need to work on, which I will learn slowly by playing the game more. But yeah, I've learned today, I suppose. So that's a good positive.
Yeah, exactly. A lot to learn today. So, yeah, I mean, you still scored some points, so that's a benefit, of course, but a difficult one. Next circuit, it's also very, very interesting for weather conditions. Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time. Do you think you can go well there if you can make it? Do you like that circuit?
Yeah, definitely. Who doesn't like Zandvoort? It's very fun. I reckon it's probably my most successful circuit in terms of LSI. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to check the stats, but I feel like I can't remember a time where I was like off the pace. Even when I was in F1.5 and I'd race in F1, I still feel like I was battling for the win. So yeah, I definitely like it. It's obviously, like, I think it's one of the most fun tracks with the sort of elevation change and the I don't know what you call that, the camber of the corners. I can't remember the word.
Yep.
So yeah, and like you say, it's interesting with the weather. So now I know Inters is the choice, and obviously I figured out a few other things. So yeah, a good race, I think, in terms of learning.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well done. Very glad
Thank
to
you.
see that you've taken things away from it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Dave Raptors. Dave, that was an interesting qualifying, very ballsy qualifying, I'll say that for sure. And then also, of course, onto the slick tyres as well. Ended up the lead slick tyre runner in the end. Do you think it was the best call you could have made, or were you hoping for a podium?
Well, I mean, in terms of qualifying, I think the softs right at the end might have been better, but it was very, very touch and go. I think I could have done a similar lap on the intermediates, so it was. I kind of just went for an all-risk move because I hadn't done as much practice, so I thought I'd just give it a go and see what happens. And that went well. I was in P3, so that was good in terms of the qualifying position. Obviously, as Devon said, the wet tyres were nowhere. They were good at the start, but as soon as the dry line formed, which I believe is the main reason why the Inters are better after the first lap or two. They just completely died off, and I was overheating them, and the rears were wearing very badly, and I'm very known for wearing my rears out. So I just had absolutely no grip, but I went with a slightly different strategy. It probably helped me in the end, where I went from when I basically stayed under wets for as long as I could until the tires really died off. Sacrificed a bit of tire wear, and then came back towards the end of my second stint, which was on the intermediates. And then obviously going on to the medium tires towards the end was beneficial. It definitely warmed up a lot quicker than Devon. I was just the only issue I had was just the learning the braking marks, because it was almost like driving on no line, because the line doesn't really adapt. So you've kind of got to go with your where you think you're supposed to brake.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but I mean, overall, decent race, P4. I think I could have probably got P3 if I'd have, if there was one more lap with hydrogen penalty. But either way, a strong race, anyways. Especially with me not really having any practice before.
Yeah, another one to just take a lot of learnings from it. So yeah, for sure, and good points as well. So not too bad. So close to getting that podium. You had a couple of podiums so far already, but. You can't have it all the time. Well done today. Whether you'll be there next or not, Zandvoort, it's a very different circuit, basically completely opposite downforce-wise. Do you think you can do well there? Do you like that circuit?
I do like the circuit. My only concern is, especially if it's wet, is the overtaking, because it is. I think dirty air is going to be a really big thing around that track, and if people are close together, and it's not as easy to make overtakes as it is at Spa. So I guess I think we'll see. Obviously, it's a really good track. Qualifying will be amazing. I think we just got to see how the race pans out in terms of being able to make those overtakes, especially if there is a train or whatever, which was kind of similar to some of the past races we've been in. So. I'm definitely looking forward to it and hoping to be there anyway.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much, Dave. Really good effort today, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
We move on to Heischler. Heischler, pole position, brilliant stuff. Unfortunately, didn't quite work out for the race. What happened with the strategy today? Do you think it was still the right call, or just a little bit too early on to the intermediates?
Well, me and Singy already discussed it a little bit just now in race chat, and it would have been the wrong strat either way to start on the west. If you stay out longer, the Indus will catch up again, and they will surpass you quite easily and just pull away. So maybe I would have been P2 then, but I don't think so either, because Simaxon was quite close behind Singy as well. So in the end, it wouldn't have mattered to where I finish, I think. But the idea of starting on wets was pretty much, I hoped I was able to pull a gap. I know this game, I know the conditions, and I know that the wets are quite useless. But at the start, like Devon said, the wets were definitely way quicker. So I hope to pull a gap, since the track is so long and the pit is quite short. So I knew the loss of pitting is not that big, but yeah, it didn't work in the end. I should have started on Inters and then not get penalties. One I got instantly in Lecombe on turn 1, which was surprising. I didn't gain time from it, so that was interesting. Just this game stuff. So yeah, that's annoying. I've learned now just to not start on the wets anymore if it's a wet race. Maybe if it's a completely wet race, it works. Like not that it dries up like this. Yeah. But yeah, I learned from it. I took a risk and it didn't pay off. If some small things went differently, it might have worked, but it sadly didn't.
Do you think if you started on the intermediate tyre, you would have been able to lead the race into the first corner, or not?
No, Devon and Dave would probably overtake me. I don't know who else was on the Inter or the West. I believe Igor as well was quite close behind.
Possibly.
I don't know who was P4, but those guys were behind me, and I think they would have overtaken me on the wets. They might have pulled a gap of 5 seconds or something, and then, like Singy, he was catching me at the last lap before I just before I pitted. I would catch them as well probably towards the end of their stint.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, home Grand Prix next. Can you win it?
I haven't done it on this track yet, or on this game yet, the track. So I don't know. I will be in a different room, so different feeling as well. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go.
Fair enough. Well, there's those kind of situations where they're just completely different and you defy all the odds. So maybe it can happen. Thank you very much, Eichler. Really good effort today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to his teammate, Jericho Willis. It's really unfortunate to see you lose it right at the line there, of course, of the time penalties, but you gave it a good shot. You had a lot of racing to get done as well in that one, and brilliant points in the end for McLaren to extend your championship lead.
Yeah, so definitely happy with the team result. That keeps us moving right along, so that's great for Heish and I, and it's a nice podium from him. I know he would have liked the win and definitely had the pace to do it, but you know, with a race like this, you never know how it's going to work out. So much can happen. But from my side, it was a pretty fun day. Definitely challenging with the conditions. I really didn't get the most out of my last lap on qualifying, and that cost me a few positions. I think my setup and my pace in those conditions were actually quite good. So I think I had a chance of starting a couple positions up, which really would have helped me, because where I started the race, especially with a couple guys with the wets around, and they were trying hard to get positions while their tires were better, made it difficult at the beginning. And so that was just kind of a battle to stay there, try to keep it clean, not allow the car to get damaged, and just kind of survive that stint. And I didn't, it would have taken more risks. I might have gotten in a position. At one point, I figured Samaxon had a lot more pace than me, so I kind of let him go to battle through Rabo or whoever that is in the Mercedes. And that probably wasn't the best decision. I probably should have just tried to do that myself a little bit earlier, because definitely had a pace advantage there. But he was rightfully battling hard for that position. That was definitely his right. And I knew the possibility of picking up some warnings or having an incident was higher, so decided not to do that. But that kind of shuffled me back a little bit. But as far as the rest of the race was good. I was pretty happy with the way the car was feeling, for the most part. Doing what I wanted to do in the race, getting the most out of the car. But that second stint, unfortunately, there started to be a little bit of lap traffic, and that kind of caused some issues for me in the end. I picked up my third track warning, avoiding lap traffic who had gone on and was coming back on slowly. So that gave me the 3-second penalty. And then with the slicks getting faster right at the very end, I had Ethan Davies closing right in on me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately caught a little bit of lap traffic, which made it difficult to keep that 3 seconds. Don't know if it would have made a difference in the end, because he was quite a bit quicker just on that last lap. Right up until that point, it was pretty stagnant. In the last couple of laps, he started to close in, and then the last lap, he was just way faster. So, but have to be happy with that result. Anytime you finish better than you qualify, that's a success. So, I'll take that away. And, there's a lot of very quick drivers here, like I was talking about last week. So if you can finish ahead of some of these really fast guys, you have to be very satisfied with that, because they're not easy to beat. So especially Igor, that was a tough battle with him. He had more pace, but it's hard to pass, and I was able to keep him behind, hopefully cleanly. I have to watch it again to make sure, but I think so.
the defensive master.
I don't know.
I
Well,
gave you that nickname, I think, was it last season at Belgium as well, so, or maybe the season before that. So, you, definitely proved that. You did very well. Getting beaten by a fellow F1.5 champion isn't that bad, so I'm sure you're not too disappointed with that. Zandvoort,
No.
very different circuit, just as difficult to overtake, or even more so probably. Do you think you can do well there?
Yeah, kind of like Heish. I haven't done much work on this the 25 game yet, so we'll have to see. I definitely enjoy the track, so that always gives you motivation to practice and get ready. And I think it'll work out timing wise that I'll have a little bit more time to prepare for that race. So, hoping it'll be a good result. This one was a little tough. I was busy all week and didn't get to touch the game for 4 days, and so that's always challenging to get back and get up to speed. But that one, full disclosure, I'll be available leading up to it much more. So hopefully I don't put extra pressure on myself to do well, but definitely looking forward to it.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much, Eric. A really good effort today.
All right. Thank you.
And we move on to Sir Maxon. Sir Maxon, well, a very last-minute call to join in the end, but a brilliant, brilliant result. Not what you wanted because you were so close, but are you still happy with that one? Surely you are.
It was a good race. I mean, not the best of mine, but yeah. Not really good in the rain. Managed to get the P14 to P2. Drive of the day, most overtakes. I will take it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're still ahead in the championship by a lot. But yeah, I mean, you played it.
Is it a lot? Is it a lot?
It's
probably like 15 points or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the point system, it's pretty good going. It's about 13 points. So, but that's actually before this race. So you've gained a few more as well. You've gained about 2, so you're now 16 points ahead. It's still a good advantage.
16.
You played the strategy very well. I don't know if you can give us any insight into that one.
I don't know. I just was in the voice chat with Heish and I was like, no, he's going wets. So I'll just gamble on the mediums. I mean, mediums, inters. Mediums would be really big gamble on this stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's some quite interesting maneuvers, hard with Robo. So we had like a little contact with there, but it was hard racing. And then I had the pace to keep with Zingy. I think if I was starting somewhere there at the top, I would have been able to fight with him. But yeah, you start from the end, so it was like this.
Did you ever consider the slick tyre towards the end of the race?
I was thinking about it. When I saw that my tires might not go till the end, I was thinking about it, but it was, I think, 3 laps to go, and I just had to do a little bit of saving at the end, and it was good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well played. High downforce at the next circuit. Very, very different stuff. You seem to have a lot of pace when the circuit dried up, meaning that you have a bit more grip. You've got a high grip circuit over at Zandvoort. Is that going to be something that suits you a bit more?
It really depends on this. I haven't driven down a Zandvoort on this game, so I'm not sure. And, I mean, in the dry, I think I'm faster than Zingy, but yeah, it was rain, and in the rain, he is the one who takes the spot, so
yeah, it's true.
We'll see how he does next race, and quite an interesting one, because I was expecting just a really slippy race, with just saving firstly the mediums, then going on hards.
Yeah, it was a very, very tricky one to read, but you did it very well. Arguably the best in the entire race, so really well done. And all I can say is thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we move on to Vega Flex. It's been a while. You've been sat in this VC, I'll say that for sure. Sorry for the wait, finally here. A very, very, very tricky race to debut at. Are you happy with the result? You scored some points. You stayed in the race.
It's weird to say, but I'm happy because I stayed in the race, like you said. I didn't expect that I will win the race. So I'm happy that I have the points, and so I'm happy with the 1 points. And yeah, unfortunately I lost my wing in the mid race. So yeah, still happy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's definitely good to see, and that's part of it when it's wet conditions. Not only just racing anyway, but wet conditions just to stay out of the wall and keep a clean race. Although you said you had a bit of damage, still staying in it is part of it. So really well done today, really well deserved. Belgium compared to Zandvoort, do you prefer that circuit? Do you have a bit more experience around there?
I'm not sure about that. We will see. I don't know. I don't know yet.
Fair enough.
I'm still learning the pace of everyone and learning by myself how to drive better.
Mhm.
So we will see in the future where my races are going.
Yeah, we will see for sure. Well, thank you very much for racing today. Thank you very much for waiting for the interview. A hell of a debut to make with the conditions for your home race as well. Thank you very much once again, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, that was a difficult one. Probably frustrated in qualifying, of course, but it didn't stop you in the end, and you managed to take the victory. Can you talk us through your race on the wet conditions, but also, of course, how it changed to the dry and the pace was a little bit different?
Yeah, of course, during qualifying, there was a bit of a miscommunication with one of the newer drivers, but I mean, that happens, doesn't it? He's new, he's inexperienced, he's going to make these mistakes, and you can't really predict that, but I still started P6. I think a lot of people messed up their qualifying laps because when I set my time, it was still raining, so a lot of people made mistakes, and I was able to capitalize in the first few laps. With my dry setup, I didn't think to change it because I knew if I'm in with a shot, I could probably just have the pace anyway in the wet because I can back myself to win. And you can see the overtakes. I mean, I was very aided by the straight line speed that I had over everyone. And once I got into first place, I didn't relinquish track position. I was just kind of copying what Maximus was doing because I had a gap. And when I came into the pits, my tires were 85% and like 110 degrees, so they were basically burning at that point. And I was just maintaining pace, saving tires towards the end to max and close up a little bit. But I knew if I was pushing, I was at least on pace with him, maybe a little faster if I was being a bit more optimal. But I knew with that advantage, I didn't really need to push that much, and I could just kind of bring it home. And thankfully, my pace without pushing was good enough to keep the lead.
Yeah, very, very well played out. And first Grand Prix victory of the season, well done. Can you do it again if you're racing in 2 weeks' time in Zandvoort? Do you like that circuit?
Is it reverse or is it normal?
It's normal.
You have to ruin it, man.
No reverse circuits this season.
Yeah, I mean, if it rains again, I'll have a very good chance of winning. I think I can win again if it rains. If it doesn't, I think Sebastian's got the pace on me this game. I'm not as quick as I used to be, unfortunately. But I'll give it my best shot, and because the track's so, like, the time's very slow within the, what am I trying to say? The lap time is very short. Hopefully the gaps will be short, and that gives me a chance. If I can just set a good qualifying lap, and I'll be up there once again. But to win the race against Maximus can be a bit difficult.
Fair enough. Well said. Thank you very much. Congratulations today. Thanks for the GIF and chat, and we'll see you next time. And we move to the end of the stream. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much if you have watched the entire interview section. It has been a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow for the Saturday tier championship race. We'll see you next weekend or 2 weeks time for the Dutch Grand Prix. That's going to be a great race for sure. Thank you very much once again, and bye bye.